Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I'm so glad you're here today because we're going to untangle something that's honestly been giving us all a bit of whiplash lately: the labor market and how it's colliding with the absolute explosion of artificial intelligence. Are jobs vanishing? Are they booming? Well, to make sense of the noise, we're going to use a macro to micro framework. We'll start way up high looking at those 30,000-foot economic trends, and then zoom right down to the ground level to see the HR and engineering strategies that are actually being deployed to adapt today. Okay, let's look at our roadmap. First, we'll dive into the shifting labor market. Then, we'll find those hidden pockets of AI growth. After that, we'll see how AI is totally transforming the recruiter. And finally, we'll wrap up with the skills-first revolution. Let's get right into it. Section 1, the shifting labor market. Specifically, we're looking at strong job gains, but surprisingly weak hiring. So based on June 2026 data from the Indeed Hiring Lab, the broader labor market is basically acting like an unmoving tide. It's a completely paradoxical time. On one hand, we're seeing steady, solid job gains in the macroeconomy, but right next to that, overall hiring activity is notably weak. Employers aren't exactly closing their doors, but, they definitely aren't throwing them wide open either. Hiring momentum has just kind of stalled out in a lot of traditional sectors. And a huge part of this gridlock actually comes down to employee behavior. If you pull up the May 2026 JOLTS report, it is a night and day difference from just a few years ago. Remember back in 2022, the whole Great Resignation era with those sky-high quit rates? Well, today, in 2026, quit rates have dropped across almost every single sector. Workers are deciding to just stay put. They're holding on to the jobs they have, which drastically lowers overall turnover and directly fuels this super stagnant, gridlocked market. But here's the crazy part. Just beneath the surface of that unmoving tide, there is so much hustle going on. According to a recent deep dive by Indeed, nearly 16% of active job seekers are already working multiple jobs. 16%! That is a massive chunk of the workforce essentially piecing together a livelihood. It really shows us that while the high-level hiring data looks super quiet, everyday workers are incredibly active and just figuring out how to adapt on their own terms. All right, Section 2, pockets of AI growth, or more simply, where the jobs actually are right now. If the broader market is frozen, where's the heat? Well, first, we have to think about the physical reality of artificial intelligence. AI doesn't just float magically in the cloud. It requires massive, heavy, tangible infrastructure on the ground. Indeed's July 2026 data shows an absolute boom in labor demand for construction, installation, and engineering roles, specifically for data centers. Before a single line of AI code can be processed, someone literally has to pour the concrete, run the massive cooling systems, and engineer the power grids to keep these huge compute centers running. But the demand doesn't stop at the data center door. We're seeing AI jobs spread rapidly beyond traditional tech roles. It's totally evolving. We're moving from pure tech occupations into things like AI training panels, AI coaching, and corporate teaching. In fact, AI instruction is now one of the absolute fastest growing clusters of non-tech jobs out there. Think about it. Employers are literally writing AI into the job titles of educators and coaches whose entire purpose is to help the rest of the workforce adapt to these tools. It's wild. Moving on to Section 3, AI transforming the recruiter. We're talking about the shift from manual sourcing to strategic consulting. So we've covered the macroeconomy. Now let's zoom in on the actual technology being built to manage this wild new landscape. Behind the scenes at platforms like LinkedIn, there is some serious heavy-duty engineering happening to keep up. We're talking major updates, a scalable large language model-based search stack, autonomous quality assurance agents, and this is a big one highlighted by LinkedIn engineer Nikita Zholtsov, semantic search for AI agents running at massive scale. Basically, this means the system now understands context, not just exact keywords. They aren't just tweaking a basic algorithm here. They're totally rebuilding how search and matching function on a structural level. And this creates a completely new reality for the modern recruiter. Let's be honest, the old way was a grind. It relied on manual candidate sourcing, typing out endless Boolean keyword strings, and just hoping you stumbled onto the right profile. But the new way? It taps into that incredible back-end engineering, AI semantic search, and tools like LinkedIn's hiring assistant. The system actually understands the meaning behind a job requirement and then dynamically matches it with a candidate's real capabilities. No more relying on just the buzzwords stuffed into a resume. Which leads us straight to this brilliant insight from Adam Hawkins, the head of search and staffing at LinkedIn. He points out that because AI is finally stepping in to handle the tedious manual sourcing work, recruiters are suddenly free. They don't have to spend 80% of their day just digging for names anymore. Instead, they're empowered to act as strategic advisors. They're consultants now, guiding hiring managers, shaping talent pipelines, and focusing on the actual human element of building a great team. And that focus on the human element brings us to our final stop, Section 4, the skills-first revolution, potential over pedigree. This is exactly why these new AI tools are fundamentally altering global HR philosophies. The absolute core of this, championed all over the LinkedIn talent blog, is skills-first hiring. What does that actually mean? It means using AI and data to look right past where someone went to college or what their last exact job title happened to be. Instead, you focus purely on their actual abilities, how ready they are for the future, and their raw potential. It's a total game changer because it suddenly unlocks these massive untapped talent pools that the old keyword filters used to just block out entirely. Top industry leaders are so passionately pushing to move beyond the diploma right now. Just recently at the Cannes Lions Festival, leaders like Corinne Kimbrough made a powerful call to tear down the paper ceiling. I absolutely love that phrase. It perfectly describes that invisible barrier, those outdated degree requirements that keeps incredibly capable, skilled workers stuck. By shredding that paper ceiling, companies aren't just getting better talent, they're massively improving inclusion and building a way more dynamic, potential-driven workforce. So how are the world's top companies actually doing this today? It's fascinating. Take Visa, for example. They aren't just throwing money at AI tools. Their strategy is entirely centered on peer-to-peer learning and role-specific upskilling to get their whole workforce on board with AI. Or look at Teradata. They're actively building what they call a continuous growth culture, where the focus is on the employees themselves taking real ownership of their learning. They know that in an AI-driven world, a company's absolute greatest asset is its ability to learn and adapt quickly. And that leaves us with a pretty vital question to think about. Whether you're an executive building out a team, a recruiter sourcing candidates, or a job seeker trying to navigate this unmoving tide, are you operating based on yesterday's degrees, or are you looking toward tomorrow's skills? The AI talent shift isn't just coming, it's already here. And the folks who adapt to this macro to micro reality, they are the ones who are absolutely going to thrive. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it brought some real clarity to a fast-moving topic. Keep learning, keep adapting, and I'll see you next time.